The people who take birth in this tract of land are divided according to the qualities of material nature, the modes of goodness, sattvaguna, passion, rajoguna, and ignorance, tamoguna. Some of them are born as exalted personalities, some are ordinary human beings, and some are extremely abominable. For in Bharatvarsha, one takes birth exactly according to one's past karma. If one's position is ascertained by a bona fide spiritual master, and one is properly trained to engage in the service of Lord Vishnu according to the 4 social divisions, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the 4 spiritual divisions, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, one's life becomes perfect. After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. Then one is able to cut the knot of bondage to ignorance, which bound him because of varied fruitive activities. As a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva, who is transcendental, free from attachment to the material world, beyond the mind and words, and independent of everything else. That bhakti yoga, or devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, is the real path of liberation. Since the human form of life is the sublime position for spiritual realization, all the demigods in heaven speak in this way. How wonderful it is for these human beings to have been born in the land of Bharatvarsha. They must have executed pious acts of austerity in the past, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself must have been pleased with them. Otherwise, how could they engage in devotional service in so many ways? We demigods can only aspire to achieve human births in Bharatvarsha to execute devotional service, but these human beings are already engaged there. After performing the very difficult tasks of executing Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, undergoing austerities, observing vows, and giving charity, we have achieved this position as inhabitants of the heavenly planets. But what is the value of this achievement? Here we are certainly very engaged in material sense gratification, and therefore we can hardly remember the lotus feet of Lord Narayan. Indeed, because of our excessive sense gratification, we have almost forgotten his lotus feet. A short life in the land of Bharatvarsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years, because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. Although life in Bharatvarsha, in a lower planetary system, is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection even in this short life by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus one attains Vaikuntha-loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. An intelligent person does not take interest in a place, even in the topmost planetary system, if the pure Ganges of topics concerning the Supreme Lord's activities does not flow there, if there are not devotees engaged in service on the banks of such a river of piety, or if there are no festivals of Sankirtan Yajna to satisfy the Lord, especially since Sankirtan Yajna is recommended in this age. Bharatvarsha offers the proper land and circumstances in which to execute devotional service, which can free one from the results of jnana and karma. If one obtains a human body in the land of Bharatvarsha, with clear sensory organs with which to execute the Sankirtan Yajna, but in spite of this opportunity he does not take to devotional service, He is certainly like liberated forest animals and birds that are careless and are therefore again bound by a hunter. In India, or Bharatvarsha, there are many worshippers of the demigods, the various officials appointed by the Supreme Lord, such as Indra, Chandra, and Surya, all of whom differently. The worshippers offer the demigods their oblations, considering the demigods part and parcel. Because the Lord is complete, He offers the worshippers the benedictions they desire, even if they worship only part of His transcendental body. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches Him with such motives, but He does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at His own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. We are now living in the heavenly planets, undoubtedly as a result of our having performed ritualistic ceremonies, pious activities, and yagyas, and having studied the Vedas. However, our lives here will one day be finished. We pray that at that time, if any merit remains from our pious activities, we may again take birth in Bharatvarsha as human beings, able to remember the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord is so kind that He personally comes to the land of Bharatvarsha and expands the good fortune of its people. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, "My dear king, in the opinion of some learned scholars, 8 smaller islands surround Jambudvip. When the sons of Maharaj Sagara were searching all over the world for their lost horse, they dug up the earth, and in this way 8 adjoining islands came into existence. The names of these islands are Spanaprastha, Chandra Shukla, Avartana, Ramanaka, Mandara Harina, Panchajanya, Simala, and Lanka. My dear King Pariksit, O best of the descendants of Bharat Maharaj, I have thus described to you, as I myself have been instructed, the island of Bharatvarsha and its adjoining islands. These are the islands that constitute Jambudvip." Thus ends the 19th chapter of the 5th canto of the Shrimad Bhagavatam, entitled, A Description of the Island of Jambudvip.